Okay, hello again. It's Con Emmanuel, and I will attempt to demonstrate some basic digital painting techniques in Photoshop. I've got my Wacom tablet set up, and I'm just going to go to File and just choose New. Now, when you're practicing in Photoshop, it's just easier just to go to the preset here and just choose US paper, because you're not saving this, it's just for practice, and it just saves a lot of time. So RGB, US letter, that's fine, and that's the document I want to be working on. All right, so in this example, I want to demonstrate how to paint an apple. Now, in reality, if you were to do this for real, you might actually have a picture of an apple that you wish to open and just use as a reference. You could even paste this as a layer, but I'm just going to pretend that I know how to paint an apple, so I don't really need that. And I just want to go to the brush tool, which is right here. If you want a keyboard shortcut, just pressing the B on your keyboard will activate and select the brush tool. And what I want to do first is just with the brush tool, just make sure that I've got a hard brush, and at the top here I just want to make sure that the opacity is on 100%, just at the top here, and the flow is on 100%, just to start things off. And before I paint anything, I want to create a new layer, and I'm just going to call this apple. There you go. Alright, so as you can see, I've got a blank layer ready for my apple painting. Alright, now I want to go and select a color for my apple, and I won't go for a dark red, I'll just go for like a medium color red. And remember, this is just a practice. So I'm just going to select a medium color red for my foreground color, and then just with my Wacom pen, I just want to see if I can paint the shape of an apple. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a go. Just a solid silhouette shape, and I'm not going to spend too much time because I don't want this tutorial to go on forever, but just humour me here, just pretend that that's a fantastic looking apple. And the purpose of this tutorial is just to show you that if you start off with a block colour, if you block in your colour like I'm doing here, and you just start with the shape that you want, it makes life a lot easier later on. So just assuming that this is turning out fantastic, we'll move on to the next step. So look, I'm happy with that. It's not the world's greatest apple, but the reason I wanted to show you this technique is to demonstrate rendering. So once I have got myself the basic shape, I just want to zoom in here, and what I want to do is activate this little button here. It's called Lock Transparent Pixels. Now this is brilliant for painting within the line. So if I just click on Lock Transparent Pixels, watch what happens when I go back to my painting, and let's just assume that I want a different color. I'll just try this at random. I'm just going to choose bright green. Now with that Lock Transparent Pixel activated, it doesn't matter how rough I am, it will only paint the shape, the block color that I've got. So I can be as spasmodic as I want, as crazy as I want, and it won't go outside of my area. So that's fantastic as a technique. Alright, now this is where shading and rendering comes in. If I wanted to create a bit of form to this shape that I've got, and to create like a 3D object, and apples are of course round, what I want to do is go here to my foreground color, and I just want to choose a darker red, maybe down the bottom here. Now before I start painting, I go up to the top and I want to bring my opacity down to around about 10. Now there is a quick way to do that, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And I'll bring the flow down to about 10 as well. Now flow controls how much paint is squirted out of your brush. Opacity, of course, determines how thick or how transparent the paint is. Now I'll use the square brackets on my keyboard just to make my brush a little bit bigger, and just with some gentle strokes of my pen, I'm just going to attempt to shade this right hand side of the apple. And you can see I'm just moving the pen up and down, and because I have the opacity turned right down, I can build up the colour in terms of darkness bit by bit until I get to the maximum 100% opaque colour that I've chosen originally. So this is a really effective way of rendering. You put your block colour down first, and you try to aim for like a middle version of that colour, a middle tone, and then you paint in your shading by dialing down the opacity. Alright, now if I want to add a bit of highlight to the left hand side, I can hold down the Option key, and that will bring up the eyedropper, and I can just click on the white area around the apple, and you can see what I'm doing now is I'm adding a little bit of a highlight to the left hand side of the apple. Okay, so and look, I'm doing this really fast, but you can see that with just a few brush strokes I've created the illusion that this apple is round. Now again, hold down the Option key, I can pick up this sort of light pink and brush back if I want, or I can pick up the light pink there and brush across. So the Option key is a fantastic little trick that you can do. You basically Option click the color that you want, and then you add or reduce the shading as you want, or the highlight area. Okay, now that looks a little bit formless at the moment in terms of it's pretty dull, it's just one color. So what I might do is go and just pick up another color, and what I like to suggest is that if I want my highlight area to be warmer, then the definition is that if you have a warm highlight area, you by default have a cool dark area, a shaded area. So the warmer the lighter area, and I'll just choose an orange here, the warmer the highlight area, the cooler the shaded area. So to prove that correctly, I'm just going to go and choose something fairly cool like a blue, and I'm just going to darken the shaded area with this blue color, and you can see it coming through there. Now, according to the masters of painting, the two temperatures that exist in art are warm and cool, and by default I'm just going to change that to a purple. If you have a cool shadow, you have a warm highlight. If you have a warm shadow, you have a cool highlight. So just remember that, and that will create some very interesting, realistic, in fact, looking bits of artwork. Okay, so I've hopefully achieved a little bit of roundness. I could go way back in here and just choose a fairly dark, cool color, almost a black. And remembering my opacity is still 10%, and I'm happy with that. The flow is 10%, and you can see I'm just gradually darkening that area there. So that's not bad. That's quite effective in terms of the cool-warm combination. I might just go and eyedrop the white, and I'll just reduce the brush a little bit and just gradually lighten that area there for my highlight. And again, just using the pen tool, just adding a little bit of a highlight. So that's effectively the end of the first tutorial on painting. Just to sum up, you block the color in, and then you reduce the opacity and the flow to about 10%, and then you gradually build up your shading and your highlight. So thank you for watching, and I hope that was informative. A little bit clumsy, but it's not bad. Bye bye.